Hello students, I hope you all are fit and fine. Today we are going to continue chapter number 4, that is natural resources. Before moving the next, let me ask some questions related to the previous video, and I hope you know the answers very well. So the questions are: what are exhaustible resources? What are inexhaustible resources? Name some exhaustible resources. Name some inexhaustible resources. What is another name of exhaustible resources? What is another name of inexhaustible resources? The objectives of today's video are to know about conservation of natural resources, to make you familiar with some ways to conserve our resources. Now students, let's discuss terms now. So the first is natural decomposers, bugs, worms, bacteria, etc. that decay organic material. Next is solar energy, a process by which sunlight is used to generate electricity. Next is wind energy, a process by which wind is used to generate electricity. Now students, open page number 23 of your book and see the point conservation of natural resources. Now let's start reading. Conservation of natural resources. Nature provides us with basic needs like food, shelter and clothes for our survival. We use air, water, soil, minerals, coal, petroleum, animals and plants in our daily life. But do we think about conserving these precious material for the future? Now students, underline word conservation means to save. Next is provides means gives. Next is survival means to live. Now next is minerals means underground wealth like gold, silver, etc. Next is precious means valuable. We get our basic human needs like food, shelter and clothes from nature. They are very important for us to live or survive. Human beings depend on nature for many things like food, shelter, clothes, air, water, soil, minerals, coal, petroleum, animals, plants and so on. All these things we get from nature. We use all these things in our daily life. Without these things, we can't survive. We save money for the future so that we can use it when it is required. But what about natural resources? Human beings are using natural resources on daily basis. Who will save these valuable materials for the future? Being a responsible citizen of society, it's our responsibility to save them and do not misuse them. Now, let's read the next. Conservation means using the available resources without destroying them. These resources are in great demand because of the increasing population, industries, new towns and cities. We must take proper steps to preserve them for the future. Now students, underline the word destroying means finishing. Next is population means number of people living in a country. In few words, we can say that conservation means to save or to preserve. But if we have to give broader meaning of conservation, then we can say that conservation means using the available resources without destroying or finishing them. Now, population is increasing day by day. The demand for natural resources is more now because of increasing population and too much use of natural resources. So, it's our responsibility to save natural resources. We must take proper steps so that our future generations can also use them. Now, let's read the next. some ways to conserve our resources. First is deforestation and hunting have resulted in a sharp decline in the number of wild animals. Hence, forests should be protected and we should plant more trees. Now students, underline the word deforestation means cutting down trees on a large scale. Next is decline means decrease. Students, as you know, trees and animals are also part of nature, but human beings are cutting trees and hunting animals for their selfish needs, which ultimately resulted huge decline in the number of wild animals and woods. So, we should protect and plant more trees. Now, let's read the next. The available land should be used effectively by people. Next point is an essential resource is water. It should be managed and wastage of water should be avoided at all levels. Now students, underline the word essential means very important. Next is avoided means neglected. When we walk through a city, we see vacant land. Such type of land is undeveloped space where nothing is grown and constructed. So, we should use such land in an effective way. We can transform vacant places into gardens, parks, etc. Such vacant places can provide us greenery, absorb air pollution, minimize heat during summers, opportunities for recreation and so on. Water is one of the most important natural resources. No one can survive without water. Even all plants and animals need water to survive. Conserving water is very important. Conserving water means using our water supply wisely and in a responsible way. We must learn how to keep our water pure and away from pollution. Next point is quick and excessive taking away of minerals which lead to slow depletion. So, metals like iron, copper and tin should be reused and any wastage should be checked. Next point is we should use more inexhaustible resources instead of exhaustible resources. Now underline the word excessive means too much. Next is depletion means exhaustion. Excessive use of minerals will lead to depletion. So, we should use minerals in a planned manner. Metals like iron, copper, tin, steel, aluminium, brass can be reused many times to make new things or products. Now students, see this picture. An iron pan is converted into a clock. See one more example. A brass bottle is converted into flower pot. Inexhaustible resources are those resources which can be renewed in a short time, like wind, water, etc. On the other hand, exhaustible resources are those resources which cannot be renewed in a short time, like coal, petroleum oil, etc. So, we should try to use more inexhaustible resources instead of exhaustible resources. Scientists all over the world are working on using solar and wind energy to meet the growing need. We must also do our best to preserve and conserve our resources by using them carefully. Students, solar energy is a process by which sunlight is used to generate electricity. And wind energy is a process by which wind is used to generate electricity. Students, as you know, population is increasing day by day. But our natural resources like coal, petrol, etc. are limited in quantity. So, scientists all over the world are working on using solar and wind energy to fulfill the growing needs of people. Being a responsible citizens of society, it's our responsibility to do our best to conserve our natural resources. Now students, Concentrate on para which is given in box. Bugs, mushrooms, worms and bacteria are natural decomposers which help in the recycling process. When a tree dies, decomposers feed on the dead bark and leaves. Thus, old trees become soil and allow new plants to grow. If trees are cut, these decomposers would die without food and the species would become extinct. Now, underline the word bugs means small insects. Next is mushrooms means fungi. Next is worms means long thin animals with soft bodies and no bones or legs. Next is bacteria means very small living things that can only be seen with microscope. Now students, underline natural decomposers, bugs, worms, bacteria, etc. that decay organic material like fruits, vegetables, trees, etc. Feed means to eat. Bark means the hard outer covering of a tree. Next is species means group of plants or animals that are all the same. Next is extinct means something that no longer exists. Bugs, mushrooms, worms, bacteria, etc. are natural decomposers which help in the recycling process. For example, decomposers feed on the trees, dead barks and leaves. With the passage of time, decomposers turn old trees, barks and leaves into soil and allow new plants to grow. But if the deforestation process will not stop, then these decomposers would die without food and the species would become extinct, which is not good for our ecosystem. Now students, we have discussed about conservation of natural resources and some ways to conserve our resources. I hope today's lesson is quite clear to you. Now your homework is revise the chapter and terms that we have discussed today and do exercise A, B and C on book which is given at page number 25. Thanks for watching.